Welcome back. Josh Taylor, Paul Zeise here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Had a lot of college football discussion during the break. We got a tweet from Big Papa KD, I think it is. He says, I think there are two teams that could beat Alabama. He agrees with Clemson. He also says Ohio State if Ohio State plays like they beat Michigan. Now, my argument to that is that they only showed that one time. They showed it against Michigan. I don't think they've showed it as consistently throughout the course of the season. Like we were talking about, the Purdue game was probably their wake-up call. But this is also a team that went down to the wire. And personally, I think Penn State gave that game away to Ohio State. So I don't think they've shown the way they played against Michigan, except against Michigan.
Well, not just that. They should have probably lost to Maryland.
I would agree with that, too.
I mean,
Maryland took them to the brink.
Maryland had them, you know, and that's the bottom line. Maryland had them and had the play they wanted and everything.
And Maryland had every problem under the sun that a college football team can have, and still took Ohio State to the brink. So that's something you point out. If you want to say Clemson, I'll go with you on that one. Ohio State, I'd have to see more, and I haven't seen enough.
Like I would laugh if people, you know, people were trying to tell me Oklahoma, that Alabama couldn't stop Oklahoma. I'm like, do you think Oklahoma could stop Alabama?
I don't. You're talking about another 110-point game, at least. I think it gets that bad. Now, here's the one thing.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think they would get away with all that stuff they do in the Big 12 against Alabama's defense.
I think Alabama's defense, especially up front, is going to give Oklahoma a lot more problems. I agree with that. Here's the one thing I will say that would be the X factor if Ohio State were to face Alabama. Urban Meyer. Nick Saban has one foil, and that one foil is Urban Meyer. That would be the one thing I'd say would make the difference in that game.
Yeah, maybe.
That's where I'll go with that one. Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Derek. Derek, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hey, Josh. Hey, those Penguins cannot put the puck in the net. They can't put it to get a power play. They keep shooting. They miss. They miss every time. I don't know why.
Neither do we. But thanks for the call. Sidney Crosby seems to be fine. He seems to be doing okay.
How about that?
Jake Gensel seems to be doing okay.
That was
he seems fine.
That was a classic example last night of Sidney Crosby basically trying to will his team to win.
That's one of those, how in the world did he do that moments? And there's a couple guys in this town that have those moments. Antonio Brown has those moments. Sidney Crosby have those moments. Evgeny Malkin has those moments. How in the world did he just do that?
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster starting to have some of those. How in the world did he just do that moments? But Sidney Crosby seems like he has them once a night.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he's Sidney Crosby.
Best in the world for a reason.
You know, he's just he's amazing. You know, he's absolutely amazing.
There's nothing else I can put a stamp on it. Quick call before we go to break. Paul on the north side. You're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Yeah, I'm on, huh?
Yeah.
I was wondering. I didn't think you were going to take any calls tonight.
You got about 20 seconds, dude, so let's go.
Okay. The Cowboys are the Cry Boys and Troy Aikman on Thursday Night Football. Troy Aikman's talking like the Cowboys are the team of the Cowboys, America's team again, for God's sakes.
I don't know when that started, when people started to get on the Cowboys bandwagon again, maybe because they won a game or two. Paul, do you have faith in this group? I don't.
Anytime the Cowboys win a few games, people go crazy for some reason. Most overrated team every single year.
That division in whole is terrible, but we'll go to break on that point. See you in a minute.